Sometimes the best pictures are those that make you give them a double take. None more so when you've got a model that's upside down like this, upside down house right in front of me. So what I want to do is take a picture of it and try and make it look as natural as possible. I'm going to actually flip it upside down in playback so that it looks okay until you look at it again and go, well, wait a minute, the sky's in the wrong place. There might be some people walking past. So in terms of framing, the first thing I'm going to do is switch on the grid lines in the camera. These are invaluable regardless of the kind of picture that you're taking. And they're going to allow me to make that house look absolutely square because, of course, if it was the right way up, you're unlikely to be taking a picture of it skewed to one side. And I'm going to try and line up one of those grid lines with the top of those two window frames. So I'm just going to angle the phone a little bit to the side, and you can see that the house is now straight. Now, the next thing that you might be tempted to do is angle the phone to get rid of all of the sky because, of course, it's not going to look right when it's positioned upside down. But I want to keep some of that sky in for a couple of reasons. First, it's going to give us some flexibility when it comes to cropping later, but it's also going to actually act as almost like the house is floating on a blue lake if we want to keep it in. So I'm going to position the house in the middle of the frame to give me the flexibility that I want. I'm also using these grey lines here as leading lines to draw you into the frame. It'll work perfectly well whether the picture is flipped or not. Then the other thing that I'm looking out for is somebody to walk past. I'm waiting for somebody to walk in front of this house so that when it's flipped, they will appear upside down, and that's really what's going to make you give it a double take. So it's just a case of waiting and seeing. Okay, so let's check out some of those pictures, and to rotate them you just go into playback and choose to edit. There's normally a crop and rotate or flip option, so that's what I've done here. Now, when I originally took this picture, I framed it so that there was no sky and I had the house at the very top of the frame. So when I flipped it, the house is at the very bottom, but it doesn't quite look right. And even if I was to crop it as a square and get rid of all of this paving, it doesn't quite have the effect that I thought it would. You see, flipping it has really changed the overall appearance, but for me, this picture doesn't work. In this shot, I've positioned the house in the middle of the frame, which gives me plenty of sky at the bottom and paving at the top when it's flipped. And again, I'm thinking of cropping this into a square shape, but leaving in some of this blue sky. I like that it looks as if the house is floating on some sort of lake. But this picture is still missing something that is going to give it that really freaky look, and that is somebody walking past. There's nobody on this frame. It looks a little bit empty, so it doesn't still work quite well enough for me. This shot is my favourite of all. I've got the house in the middle of the frame, so I've got some blue sky on one side and some paving on the other. I've got the grey tiling on the ground acting as leading lines. I've rotated the house so that it's square, but most importantly of all, I've got some people walking into the frame, and now that I've flipped it, they're upside down. The whole thing looks very, very freaky, and it'll also crop very nicely into a square. I'm going to actually make sure that I've got some blue underneath this grassy section to make it look like the house is floating in some kind of eerie blue lake, and it's really given it that otherworldly appearance that I was looking for.